Welcome to the Real Estate Scripts Podcast, the show that helps you know what to say when you're talking to buyers and sellers so that you can close more deals and earn more money. I'm Darren Tunstall, a real estate professional, coach, and #1 best-selling author. Let's get into this. Before we begin today's episode, I want to clarify some important points. I am a licensed real estate agent and my DRE number is 018534445. It's crucial to note that this podcast operates independently of my affiliation with Keller Williams Realty and any realtor associations. My primary goal with this podcast is to provide you, our listeners, with valuable information, insights, and practical tools. As a reminder, the purpose of Scripts and Dialogues is to come, learn, practice, and be prepared to fail forward. This is where we make mistakes and help each other out, but we're mostly interested in seeing how we can get better. First, we read through the script word for word, and then we go back and put it into our own natural tone, style, and phrasing. You won't know what to say until you go through the script. So, with that said, many people will say, that's not how I sound, and I totally get it. That's not how you sound. But that is the reason why we practice every day, so that the script becomes you and in your own voice. So, read it word for word first, then go back and put it into your own natural tone, style, and phrasing, and I think it'll work out. All right. Hey, Miguel, what's up?
Morning, guys. How's it going?
Good. Doing well, doing well. So today, we're talking about, this whole week is about seller objections. All right. And yesterday we did, I don't think you were here. Were you here
I
yesterday,
wasn't.
Miguel?
No,
Okay.
I wasn't here. So sorry.
So I'll put in the chat box too, something that you'll want to have as well. But we did the common buyer objections on Monday as well, and I can send that over to you. The other thing is yesterday we did commissions from a net sheet perspective. This is talking about the commission rates that you charge from a net perspective first before you get into the contract and talking about percentages. And it's a much easier conversation many times. Now, if the question comes up, what does this work out to percentage? Then you just talk about it. But I'll throw that script in there. Now, today is all about like, let's, if they're still objecting to the commission rate, let's talk about, how this might compare to like a reduction in pay. Naturally, I think if you're going to be at work and your employer cuts your pay by a percentage or a dollar amount, whatever it might be, then you're going to be like, what? For those who have jobs or part-time jobs, you would question that, right? I think you would question it.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to have that discussion from that perspective. And then, the other thing is to show or to emphasize your value of service. That's really what we're doing here. So we're engaging in a conversation with a homeowner who's objecting to your commission rate, and we're going to compare that to maybe them taking a pay cut at work. And at the same time, we're going to emphasize your value of service. So in this script, you're also in the middle of a conversation. You might have had that net sheet discussion already. You might have had the discussion about the commission rate or percentage. But now this is them saying, well, here's the deal. Here's something that I'm thinking about. So you're going to give them an analogy. All right. All right, Miguel, it's you and I.
Sweet.
Yep. All right, so let's
Okay.
get into this script. So we've probably just had the discussion. You're in the middle of the presentation, and you're going to I'm going to object a little bit to the commission rate, and I'll just go ahead and start it out. Miguel, look, I appreciate everything, but the commission rate is something that I think is a little high. Can you do a little bit better than that?
Yeah. I understand that you might have some concerns regarding the commission rate, Darren, and I'd totally be happy to address them. Can I share an analogy to help you understand the importance of the commission and value I provide? Or yeah,
Yeah, I mean, please. If you can help me understand it, I'd appreciate that.
definitely. Well, just, picture this. Imagine that you were in a job where you worked hard to achieve successful results. Now, suppose your employer approached you and proposed a pay cut. Naturally you'd question why. Do you think so?
Yeah, I sure would.
Yeah, definitely. And, just as you expect a valid reason for a pay cut, I'd like to explain why the commission rate is set the way it is. And when I represent you in selling your home, I invest significant amount of time, resources, excuse me, and effort to ensure that you have a successful sale. By reducing the commission, it would be similar to taking a pay cut and could affect the level of dedication and service from buyer's agents. Now, I want to ensure that you receive the best possible outcome for your property, and that requires a fair commission rate to support my commission to your success.
Okay. So I'm curious, is there any room for negotiation?
Yeah, great question. I understand your desire for negotiation, Darren. However, it's essential to consider the long-term benefits by setting long-term benefits. And by setting a fair commission rate, I can focus on marketing your property effectively, reaching a wider audience for potential buyers, and negotiating the highest possible sale price. Ultimately, the goal is to maximize your return on investment. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. I want to get the most amount of money from my home that I can possible.
Of course, of course. And I'm dedicated to helping you achieve that goal. So, let's do the right thing and get your home on the market for sale. And I market for 500,000 and I will start marketing your property immediately.
All right,
Sound good?
yeah, let's do it.
Perfect. Perfect.
I'm gonna upload a file for you to have. And while I'm doing that, I just want to point out that if we're doing if we're making a big deal, like too much of a big deal about it, and getting too um stuck in our own head and having to explain it, then naturally I think they're gonna also question it even more and push back even
Mm,
more. And it's I don't know why I'm using this analogy, but it's almost like seeing a kid, like a baby, walking and then falling on the floor. And if you watch that baby, the baby they'll just kind of stop and pause, like, what's going on? And if you
mm.
leave them alone, they just get up and continue on, right?
Yeah.
Now, the other part of that is if that baby goes walking on the floor and then somebody goes running over there and crying, it's like, oh my gosh, da, 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 right?
Hmm.
Then the,
Hmm.
then the baby starts crying and pushing back. They're freaked out. They're like, what's going on? And I know that's a weird analogy, but it happens
No, but
in,
yeah.
and so if you just don't make a big deal out of it, here's the deal. This is what we're all about and this is why why I charge what I do, and this is what I'm going to do for it. And the other thing is, it's your value. You're getting
Yeah.
paid for the knowledge and the experience and the time that you're going to bring to the table to these clients.
Hmm. Definitely. I think that baby analogy is super accurate. I have a niece and nephew, and like they're very young, and so I got to see them grow up. And I remember like when they would fall, we would clap, and stuff just to ensure that they psychologically knew that it's going to be okay, and they kept it pushing. That they didn't worry too much after that because they were aware that everyone else wasn't worrying. So
Right.
that's
So so think of our clients sometimes as big babies, and
some of them are, some of
we
them
just
are.
need to cheer them on a little bit, you know?
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So I just uploaded the explaining the net sheet to you. I really would like for you to do this one because I think it's so we'll do this one, the net sheet, which we did yesterday, and then we'll go directly into the other one because that's a good way to object a little bit.
Okay,
All right.
okay.
All right. So, and to set this up in this scenario, you're discussing the net sheet with a homeowner who is going to sell their home or wants to sell their home, and you're going to focus on the expenses and the total amount they will receive without mentioning commission percentages. So we're not going to talk about percentages using the net sheet. Have you ever done this?
No, I haven't.
Not this particular script, but have you had the commission conversation using the net sheet versus the rate? That's what I'm.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
So,
yeah, I've never had that.
All right, so let's go ahead, start out the script when you're ready.
Okay. Hi, Darren. Thank you so much for meeting with today. Just wanted to check in, see how you're feeling about the process so far.
You know what? I'm excited. We're ready to go and yeah, so let's do this.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's so glad to hear. Today I want to walk you through something that's called a net sheet. Not sure if you've ever heard of this before, but this document will give us a clear picture of what you can expect to walk away with after selling your home. Does that sound good?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
Perfect. So the net sheet includes all the expenses you'll incur during the sale. This covers things such as title insurance, escrow fees, any repairs or concessions we might need to make. And ultimately, the goal is just to ensure that there are no surprises down the road and that, we're just being transparent about everything within this transaction.
Okay, that sounds good.
So, with that being said, let's just start by looking at the selling price of your home. Um, Based on the market analysis, we're aiming for 1 million. Now, here are just some estimated expenses.
Oh, okay. And then, so a couple things happening there. One, you've already just showed the CMAs, like showing them what the value is, right,
Yes.
of the home. And number two, what's going on is you have a net sheet in front of them. Typically, we bring a high and a low net sheet, and you get that from escrow. It only takes them a couple of minutes to put it together. They send it over to you. So get a high and a low, and that's what you're pointing to. You're pointing to the net sheet and saying, "Hey, here's expenses on this column. Here's what you're getting in proceeds back on this column, and here's what you're going to be putting into your bank account." So I just wanted to point out that that's what's happening in this conversation. So continue on. Yeah, yeah, I totally get it. I see there's all these different things going on here. Okay.
Yeah, and you'll see here the costs for title insurance, escrow fees, and a few other necessary expenses. Now, this amount here is the total that goes to the real estate agent, which is my team and me. And so by the time we get to the listing contract, you'll see the percentage, but what's most important is how much you get in your bank account after all the expenses.
Wow. That's I'm looking at this. You're telling me, at a million after everything is done, I'm gonna put in $925,000 in my bank account. That's awesome.
Definitely, no, it definitely is awesome, and that's why I wanted to show you this because it's maps out everything and it's a very transparent. So after subtracting all this costs from the selling price, we get to the bottom line, and the 900,000 is the amount that you'll receive into your bank account. Um, I know you mentioned that's excellent. Does that look good to you?
Well, it looks good. I mean, I didn't realize that there was so many different expenses that go into selling a home, but I can see like all these people are, insurance, everything, paying you guys. Yeah, it's quite a bit of money to sell a house, but I love
Hmm.
having almost $1 million on my bank account too.
Hmm. Yeah, no, definitely. It's a good profit that you guys are taking home. And I understand that we were aiming for that goal, which is great. So the main thing is that we want you to feel confident and comfortable with every part of this process. And are there, just, want to make sure, are there any expenses or parts of this net sheet that I could clarify, any concerns that you had or feedback?
I think you did a good job. I'm sure as the more I stare at this, more questions I'm going to have, but I think you did a good job so far, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that we could go over this together. Transparency is key, and I want to make sure that you have a full understanding of what to expect. If you're feeling good about this, we can move forward with the next steps.
Yeah, I think it's good. So let's go ahead and do it.
Fantastic. Well, let's get this home sold and the amount into your bank account. I just wanted to thank you again so much for your trust and partnership in this process. We'll keep everything smooth and straightforward from here.
Okay, well, I am
Um,
kind of curious, really quickly, just out of curiosity, is there any room for negotiation on that rate or on your commission?
like you mean like with my uncle,
Well,
like or
I see in this net sheet that it says that you're going to get paid, almost 60 grand. I mean, is there a way to like negotiate down to like 40 or something like that?
sorry, I thought you were asking in
I'm
general sense, but you will. Yeah. Negotiation is, it's always pretty, we do like to keep it pretty open. I understand that, um,
Go back to the other script, and
yeah,
it's
I'm
and
looking at it
it's
right now. I was just pulling it up. I understand, your desire for negotiation. However, it is essential to consider the long-term benefits. And so by setting a fair commission rate, I have the opportunity to focus specifically marketing your property effectively and just being able to reach a wider audience of potential buyers and negotiating the highest possible sales price. So ultimately the goal is to maximize, your return on investment. Is that right?
absolutely, yeah. I want to get the most amount of money.
Yeah. And well, perfect. So let's just, do the right thing and get your home on the market and I'll start marketing your home immediately.
All right, all right. That makes sense. Let's just do it.
Perfect. Perfect.
All right. Sorry, yeah, I didn't tell you about the transition.
No, that's okay. I figured it out like midway was, but
Anyways, yeah, no worries. You did good. That's the conversation. So from here, after the net sheet conversation, then
it
you'll pull up.
usually transitions.
Yeah, well, it's going to transition. You're going to transition into the listing contract. You're going to pull out the contract. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and sign here, sign here. This is where we discuss this. Here's where the commission's at. You already saw that. You said that amount was okay. Boom, 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 boom. Get the signature. And then you tell them exactly what you're going to do before, for the next 3 days. We're going to order some pictures. We're going to start, putting
Mhm.
together the marketing material, all that type of stuff. Um,
And when do you usually request for the net sheet? Like, I know, just for context, it sounds like we usually do this like before we're marketing. Is this during the listing presentation?
Yes, during the listing presentation.
Okay.
So before you go meet with the client, and I would do it if like, if it's that day and they're like scheduling it that day, get on the phone with your escrow officer and say, look, I have an appointment right now. I need this right now. Please send me a high and a low. Price is $1 million. My percentage is going to be 6% or 7%, whatever rate you want to choose, right? Do it at 7% and then also do it like at 950 just in case at 6% as well and see what that and see and tell them to send you the high and low. It takes them like 15 minutes to do. That's it. All right. And they'll send it over to you. You print it out, you put it in your folder, and you bring it to the meeting with you as a part of the supporting documents, as well as the CMAs. Because you can see, right? Like you get there, you do your presentation. Here's who I am. Here's what I'm all about. I'm
Yep.
a single, I'm a solo agent, or I'm a team member. It doesn't really matter, right? I don't really care who you are. Just, here's what we bring to the table. Here's what we're going to do to get your home sold. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the value of your home because all the sellers think that their home is worth more than what it is, right? They're all
Mhm.
tracking Zillow, they're all tracking Redfin, and their home is better than their neighbor's house. Right.
Right.
So then you go over the CMAs. They finally figured out that, okay, well, maybe I was wrong. Here's what's going on in the market. I agree with this price. Awesome. Now let's talk about the net sheet and the expenses involved, right? So then
Mhm.
you go over the net sheet. And have you seen a net sheet?
Yeah, you've shown us before, and I remember you mentioned it comes from the escrow officer. So I took like a
Yeah.
brief glance.
Good. Okay, so you go over all the expenses, right? And then when they agree to that, then you go into the listing contract, and then through there, they'll see the actual rate, right? Right now, we're talking about a dollar amount. We're being fully transparent, right? And we're showing them the dollar amount on the net sheet. We're going to show them the rate on the listing agreement, and they have multiple chances to talk about, to ask questions. And as long as they're okay with the net sheet, they're okay with what they see on the contract, boom, get
Mhm.
them to sign, and you move on to the next phase and you do the follow up as to what's going to happen next.
Okay.
That's about it.
That sounds good. Can you send me? I don't know if you posted it as a resource on Hey or the dashboard, but can can you send the net sheet to me? The example net sheet to me? I know
If you
you.
had if you're on the dashboard, go to resources at the top in that blue bar, click on seller presentation, and then there's a right and the left side under the right side where it says sellers folder checklist.
Yeah, I see it.
Under that
Um,
section, there's a section called supporting documents, bring separately.
uh-huh.
Click on that.
Net sheet. I see.
Yeah.
Escrow.
And then it'll open
Sweet.
up. And then if you right click, double click, however, whatever to expand it. I got to make that bigger. I got to make that better. But there's an example net sheet of all the
I see
expenses.
it.
And the cool thing about this is, you know, after everything is said and done, paying, this is what I love about having the commission conversation based on the net sheet is that their consideration, their price is $1 million or 940
Hmm.
in this case. And then here's all the expenses plus your commission rate, right? You're having that discussion already. And then when everything is said and done, $870,000 is going to go into their bank account. And that's really what we're getting to. How does that number going to look in their bank account?
Right.
And not a whole lot of people have $870,000 in their bank account. Some do, some don't. But that's a good number for them to start getting a feeling for. Hello?
Hello.
Well,
Emily? Sorry, we were talking and I totally what do you call it? Um
Lost track of time.
Lost track of time. Yeah.
I'm like, wow, this is going long.
Yeah. That's right. So how did it go?
Good. I did it twice, she did it once. The second time I kind of went a little more into explaining my value as far as
Yeah.
paying for stuff up front, paying my broker, paying my insurance.
And it went well then?
I think so.
Okay.
Darren, I
Okay.
have a question. For explaining our value, so we don't go further to not create resistance, like explaining that we do a CMA, net sheet, and everything that we do.
So that's a really good question because at this point you would have already done that.
Okay.
You would have gone, you're in the presentation, so you're giving the presentation, you would have already shown the CMAs, you would have already had the conversation around the net amount that they're going to earn. And then from there, you're going to handle the objections that they're going to give you. Like, is there any room for negotiation? Can you lower your rate? Another agent told me that they were going to do this. I have a friend in the business that said they're going to charge me this. So you would have already had that conversation
Oh,
about that. You can remind them of your value. Well, here are some of the things that I'm going to do. Just as a quick reminder, let me go over some of the things that we're going to do. We're gonna host open houses every single weekend until this thing gets sold. We're gonna post, just coming, just sold, and in escrow type postcards. We're gonna walk the neighborhood. We're going to reach out to our database. We're gonna pitch it to the different market centers. We're going to do all these different things. We're going to run social ads. There's a whole bunch of different types of things that you can do depending on who you are and how you run your business. Also, there's not one set way of doing it. It's just a matter of what you do to help people get their homes sold. Yeah.
thank
So
you for clarifying that. Yes, thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. All right. So that's the script. I hope that you found it useful. Just head over to realestatescriptspractice.com for more resources and downloads. This content is for educational purposes only and does not make any guarantees. We suggest you seek the help and or advice of your broker, coach, mentor, office manager, attorney, and or financial advisor. Brought to you by Darren Tunstall, a licensed real estate agent, DRE number 018534445. This content operates independently of Darren's affiliation with Keller Williams Realty and any realtor associations. The intention is to provide you with valuable information, insights, and practical tools. Please note that all results may vary and participants are responsible for their own actions.